Bonsoir. So, trigger warning. In this video, I briefly mention self-injury, drugs, drinking, and suicide. It's a literal catch-22 that I have to be sane and competent enough to apply, appeal, labor, lobby to get Social Security disability income when appearing sane and competent biases observers, judges, and examiners against me. It doesn't help that I have a deep-seated paranoid fear that people, in response to my severe mental illness, might involuntarily commit me to a psych ward or hospital, instantly bankrupting me, where I would be subjected to non-consensual treatments and strapped down and drugged into a stupor because I would panic at being held against my will, and I would never get out. That's my worst nightmare, and it is sadly possible. I've heard plenty of horror stories of local facilities and others. While I'm occasionally able to, with great effort and assistance, pull off feats of lucidity and accomplishment, I can't do so enough to sustain the most undemanding part-time employment, much less full-time. My conditions are too unstable. My symptoms are too severe and unpredictable day to day. Frequently, my symptoms worsen to the point where it's all I can do to just take care of my basic needs. I have more sick days than well days. I have more sick days than well days. I just don't show them to you. Because on my sick days, I have other things to worry about than making damn videos. And given that when I'm at my worst, I'm easy prey for those who do regularly target me, I understandably do not want to advertise my weakness on my bad days. This isn't some theoretical exercise, but a repeatedly hard-won lesson. Here's a metaphor. I can hold my breath underwater to save my life. Most people can, but not for 8 hours a day with a 30-minute break for lunch. Running for one's life, fighting off an assailant. These are things we can do to survive, but not full-time 52 weeks a year. The fact that I can be observed to do something occasionally isn't proof that I can do it full-time for a living wage. Seeing that captured glimpse as proof is a perceptive logical fallacy, albeit one that pretty much everyone in the whole damn world makes when they see the least little sliver of my life and extrapolate the whole from it. They assume that this one snapshot of my life is the entirety of my life. I can't express how frustratingly illogical it is to do that. And yet, we all do it all the time. Not just with me, but all other YouTubers, artists, authors, and public figures, particularly the more autobiographical their content is. Forgetting that the content is edited, curated, and an incomplete, fractional percentage of a life that doesn't even engage all the senses, much less give the observer, the reader, the watcher, the experience of being in the room with that person, being that person's friend, being with that person in their darkest hours, much less living in their skin. Sometimes these videos, or my blog posts, on which I make zero money. In fact, I have to pay for my website, so I lose money, but I need a place for self-expression, just like I need to pay for my medication, so it's a necessary expense for my self-care. People see these things on my videos and my blog posts and think that these videos and posts I make look sort of like things that rarely some people get paid for. Only once in a blue moon actually make a living at, I must point out. And why don't people make this leap? Why don't people think about this? How many people really do make a living doing this? But they think this, and they think that therefore I'm not actually disabled, that I can work. And too disabled to make a living wage. That's the problem right there. It's a privileged, idiotically simplified idea of what work entails. No one is paying me to do this. I'm not even making enough off people watching these to get paid a single penny, much less enough to pay for one of my medications, much less make enough to pay rent to live somewhere rather than squat in someone else's moldy, freezing RV. No one is willing to pay me to do this, not even one penny. No one in their right mind would pay me to do this. You can write a grocery list. It doesn't mean that Bantam Books or Del Rey Books is going to give you a 6-figure advance on a book deal, right? You can write. That doesn't mean that you're the next New York Times best-selling author. You can speak. That doesn't mean that you're the next president of the United States. These are the odds that we're talking about, people. In reality, only the tiniest percentage of YouTube content creators make money full-time making videos. And I can't make videos as often as they do or as much as they do, and I don't have the equipment, and I don't have the resources, and I don't have the time and the energy. And many of them work in studios and groups, which I can't do because I can't work with other people because I am way too mentally ill. I am way too psychologically disabled. These videos and posts I do, this is catharsis and anger. It's for me. It's for me. It's therapy. If someone tried to tell me what to do or gave me advice or judged me, best case scenario, I would delete their comment. Worst case scenario, I would write them a nasty, nasty diatribe and maybe turn it into a rant video. Like this one. I also definitely can't do this on a reliable, consistent basis. I've tried. It doesn't work. I have several nervous and physical collapses every week. Sometimes several a day. It's exciting. It's not fun. Getting out of bed isn't always a thing that happens for me. Showers are really rare, and I only vacuum or clean the toilet if something reminds me, like a solar eclipse. I put dishes in the fridge instead of wash them, and I hoard ketchup packets. I don't eat them. I just stuff them in the door, like the most pathetic imitation Fight Club fridge ever. My trash cans are stuffed to bursting with the detritus of my day-long endorphin hobby of bloody, booger-filled Kleenex, and somehow my septum is still intact, even after a lifetime of this compulsive rhinotolexomania, and that's not even the worst of the crappiest of the most disgusting stuff of my mental illness. Not that this has anything to do with whether or not I'd be a good employee, or even a tolerable friend, or even someone that you would be able to bear to live with. I have far more bad days than good days. Far more. And when I say bad days, I'm not talking about a little bit moody. I mean really screamingly wall-to-wall madness bad days. You can't imagine. For 3 to 4 freezing months out of the year, it's a struggle just to get out of bed, 6 hours tops, and just to take care of my basic needs to survive. And I go for weeks or months unable to talk to anyone other than my therapist once a week. I get abrasive, I get bitchy, nasty, I end friendships for good and alienate everyone. I should point out that I have a 5th grade regular education. I was taken out of school at the beginning of 6th grade, and my parents theoretically homeschooled me. They made up attendance records at the end of the year to file and administered standardized tests, which was all that they were required to do in North Carolina, and they ordered a high school diploma online from one of those places that does it for homeschool places. I was not socialized with anyone my age or anyone outside the cult, in which I was the only child. I'm not ready to talk about that in detail yet, so let's just end that there. I've heard from other homeschool abuse survivors who have complex post-traumatic stress disorder like me, and one therapist said that the only other time symptoms like ours have been seen were in long-term kidnap victims. This is what it is like. I was kidnapped and isolated in the woods and abused for 7 years with educational neglect and brainwashing and trauma. My complex PTSD is not a simple, cut and dried, easy to understand, detect, comprehend, treat, parse thing, nor its impact on my daily life and functioning, nor especially on how I react to other people, to situations where I'm under others' supervision, or where others have even minimal influence or control over my basic needs, or what I'm doing, or where I am, or when, especially long term. You can't imagine what it's like for me. Even if you share some experiences with me, you can't imagine what it's like. And others who have shared experiences like mine know what I'm talking about, because I know that even if you came to me and said, I've been through exactly what you've been through, I say, no, I can't imagine what it's like for you either, because even in these situations, we can't imagine what it's like for each other, because every single one of us, we each go through it in our own private hell. You can't imagine what it's like for me. So disabuse yourself of that notion right now. You can't imagine. Even if you stretch and strain your brain and let go of thinking about how you would feel in my situation, even if you let go of your identity and try to think like me, and even if you let go of all that and try to think, and even if you strain and stretch your imagination and your brain and manage to try to contemplate for yourself, just for a moment, what it would be like to be someone like me through great effort. The moment you stop making that enormous effort, you'll snap back to your life like that, and everything will go back. You will flood back in. That's how it is. Because if I make a great effort to imagine what it's like to be someone else, and I stop making that effort, I snap back to who I am. That's how it is. No blame attaches. That's how it happens. That's human nature. I can never not know what it's like to be me. I can't escape my reality. I can't escape my disability. Living this way and knowing nothing different, knowing that I don't know what it's like to not have this background, to be surrounded by people who grew up in this sort of mainstream way and look at it kind of like an alien from another planet. It's affected my development And the development of my identity and personality and skill set and adaptability and reactivity, my emotions and thoughts and beliefs and systems of meaning and understanding and processing, my imagination and capacity for trust and understanding and empathy. There is no part of me that was not affected. The long-term effects of living this way and with this trauma and stress causes neurological, chemical, physical, and personality changes in an individual that mean that I can never become a person who didn't have these things happen, who didn't develop this way. Certain developmental milestones have passed, and things about the growing child that I was became fixed in response to that environment. That's the way things are. I've accepted that. That's the truth. There's no time machine. I can't fire up the DeLorean and meet you at the clock tower and go back and fix that. Okay, got that. I've learned. With an enormous amount of time, resources, and support, and importantly, without obligations burdening the bulk of my time, I might be able, with great effort and support, to begin to heal from some of this trauma and develop a more healthy and better adjusted personality, thanks to neuroplasticity. I love that word. But I will never be normal. I will never be like someone who didn't have this background. I will never not have this background. That's a fantasy and a fairy tale people yammer when they want to believe that even the worst things in life can unhappen and that consequences can go away, that we can heal from anything. There are things that cannot be undone, that cannot be taken back, that can't unhappen, that I must grow from, that I must integrate and make a part of me as I forge meaning, as I build identity. If you don't like that, sorry. And you're welcome to disagree and believe something different for yourself. But you are not welcome to tell me that I'm wrong about myself. You have no business telling me about me. You have absolutely no business telling me what's true for me. You have no point of view on what's true for me. 'Cause you're not me. That's how that works. Sorry, nothing you say can change that. Nope. You can argue till the cows come home, but nope. Returning to disability. I have tried to work. Tried so many things in the past, and it never takes long before I psychologically and physically collapse like a flan in a cupboard. And now, because I deteriorate year after year, because I have all these obligations and these struggles, I can't even try anymore. Not even part-time temping. Only once in my life have I ever held a full-time job for less than 2 months. At the end, I was actively suicidal. I went in on a Saturday to hand in my resignation effective immediately. I knew it was that or death. Every night after work, I mixed copious booze and pills, despairing every morning I woke up. I remember a time before that when I held 2 part-time jobs for about 1.5 years. This was before my official fibromyalgia diagnosis. I had always had pain all over my skin, and especially my arms and my upper back. So it was my normal. And I thought everyone always had pain like that. It was all I'd ever known. I thought that was just how it was. That was what it was to be human. It wasn't until my pain worsened considerably that I went in and I started talking about it, and my doctor said, but wait, no, that's not normal, that I finally got a diagnosis a long time after the fact. Important note to everyone at this point. Do not send me any more magic bullet, sugar pill, snake oil, yoga, new age, woo-woo cures. Don't send me any cures. Don't send me any other unsolicited advice about my fibromyalgia at this point, or I will block and possibly blast you with vitriol. I'm so tired of it. Survival is my #1 priority. I am managing my fibro, thank you very much. And New Age terminology deeply, deeply offends me and triggers me, but that's another video for another time. My pain is always worst in the morning. So back to this job, especially when I force myself to wake up, my pain is worst. As I did for this job, #1 at the tax office. So in the shower, I would cut my back with a kitchen knife. The endorphins made me feel so much better than coffee. It would cut in the endorphins, so it would relieve the pain in a way that Tylenol wouldn't, and no ibuprofen or any other painkiller would. You know, I didn't understand. All I knew was it made the pain stop so that I could get through the day without looking like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And soon that wasn't enough. So I would cut again on the lunch break in the bathroom. And then I was doing cocaine in the bathroom as well on the lunch break. And then I was cutting every single bathroom break. I totaled 3 cars and my left shoulder in a year working those 2 jobs, something I have never done before or since. I've never totaled a car or my shoulder before or since. I also, on one occasion, spent 60 hours without sleep or food or water or bathroom breaks, writing constantly, having a nervous breakdown. And I talked about that in my writing and hypergraphia video. I'll link that below. Another time I went 10 days with no food, only water. I wanted to die, but somehow, horribly, I didn't. I left that job after the 3rd car bit the dust and ditched all the sort of friends you acquire when you don't want to live. Shakespeare's pitiless fairies, the glamorous, sadistic, pre-revolutionary French aristocracy, the libertines of North Durham. But they don't deserve my words, or any video. I have learned through painful years of trial and error, I can't sustain gainful employment. I can't make a living through work. If I'm forced into proximity with other people, I have gradual but increasingly rapid psychological and physical collapses. Often because I don't trust and hang back from others, I wind up being the loner and the target of workplace bullying. I get defensive, I get angry, I get paranoid, I get panicky, I get passive-aggressive, rage builds up, and then explodes. Also, just because I can do something doesn't mean I can make money at it. For example, many people can have sex but not make money at it because simply being able to have sex does not equip one with all the skills and detachment and mental approach and marketability necessary to make money at it and willingness to make money at it. And that's a pretty damn apt metaphor for how dirty and used I've felt when I've been in employment situations, and also for this video thing right here. I can make these videos, but I can't make money at them. Many of you watching this can have sex, but probably most of you can't make money at it. Because there's a lot more to making money at sex than just having the sex. There's a lot more to making money at making YouTube videos than just making the videos, which is why just making a video about your cat and putting it on the internet doesn't pay your bills. You see? It's simple. We also can't necessarily make money out of hobbies either, much less consistently produce wage quality work at our hobbies 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. Think about things you do for enjoyment, like boating or bungee jumping or attending concerts or sporting events. You can do these things, and yes, some few people turn these into careers, like reviewers. it doesn't mean you can. Finally, there are things that we can all manage to do one time. Feats that require enormous preparation and setup and resources, like scaling Mount Everest or group parachuting. And this is the case actually with a lot of things I do that are a lot more mundane, but are no less difficult for me to pull off. You don't see what it takes for me to do, well, anything. Like scrub the toilet, for frack's sake. For me to actually show what it takes for me to do anything would actually take even more effort. So eventually I wouldn't even be able to do that, if you see what I mean. It would be like a self-perpetuating, self-defeating, complete collapse of my inability to film the thing that I'm now unable to do, because I then can't. So, like, I can't prove to you that I can't do it because I can't film it, because I can't do the filming, because I can't marshal the resources to, and I can't even explain it. I hope you're following me, because I'm not. Additionally, and this is important, there are plenty of people, some of whom I have met, who receive disability income, who hold part-time jobs. And you can make income up to a certain point. This is really true. It's legal to have a part-time job, be disabled, and get Social Security disability income. Social Security disability income makes up the difference to ensure that people make enough money they earn enough to live on. So you can be too disabled to make enough money to live on and hold a part-time job. This is really actually legally true. But I can't even hold a part-time job. I can't even work for myself. Every year my conditions worsen. Now I can't even temp part-time, work at home, or work for myself. Yes, I am doing videos, but I'm not making money at this. I'm not making videos of the sort that make money any more than my wearing clothes or writing in a journal is making me money, while some people do in fact make money for wearing clothes on a runway or writing journals that get published, or writing blogs that make money. Accomplishment of a task is the very least of a huge set of skills that the abled take for granted, that are necessary for taking an ability to do one thing and turning it into a going concern to make enough money to live off of. People see me doing something, and they take my doing something, anything, as proof that I can work. Like as a, gotcha, you're lying. But it isn't proof that I can hold a job. The only proof that I could hold a job would be me holding a job consistently over more than a year, particularly because in the winter my conditions get so bad that sometimes for weeks at a time I can barely function enough to take care of myself, sometimes cannot get out of bed, and often can't leave the RV. This would preclude me being able to hold a job. I understand that other people and observers don't understand because they don't live my life. They don't feel my pain. They don't pay the price I do. They don't suffer the cost. They don't experience the consequences. So to them, my symptoms, my suffering are intellectual. It's all a logical exercise. People say, aha, these videos prove you're lying. You can work. This is not work because I am not getting paid, and I am not doing it 40 hours a week, and I am not doing it 52 weeks a year. And I will never get paid for this. If anyone hired me for this, I would be unable to sustain the job because I could not do this on a consistent basis or to other standards or schedules. I have had many more bad days and sick days than good days since I started this. Do you understand? You see only the edited footage of the merest glimpses of the very few good days. You see only what I put out there. You do not see my whole life, much less my worst days and weeks and months of hell. What am I supposed to do? Upload all the screaming insanity? All the worst days? All the horrors of my existence? The crying and the wailing and the descriptions of all the horrors and the flashbacks? I can guarantee the haters would come out in nasty, predatory, abusive droves. Insist that I was lying and acting and spew vitriol all over the comments and come after me, as I well know from childhood on. Showing my vulnerability and pain invites the worst and most predatory of people to attack me relentlessly and remorselessly, to hunt me down, gang up on, and beat, and attack, and torture, and harass, and threaten me. This was one of the first lessons I learned over and over again. Show them you hurt, and there are vulture people who will flock to you and use you 6 ways from Sunday, and good people will stand by mutely and say and do nothing and back away and leave because they don't want to risk getting involved and becoming targets themselves of these out-of-control, bloodthirsty, empathy-devoid creatures themselves. The bystanders have children, families, and jobs and lives they don't want to endanger. What I am doing here with these videos is expressing my anger and the words I never got to say and the words I still don't get to say out there. I'm saying all the things I never said because I was afraid. I'm making videos because I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take anymore. Making assumptions about my life or what I can or can't do or what I do or don't feel is intellectual for people who aren't me, who like to play gotcha, who don't live with my symptoms and struggles. No matter what people believe or say, it doesn't change my reality. I am not getting paid. I can't hold a job. I am homeless. I live below the poverty line. I have no income. My symptoms are just as bad and getting worse. And I'm angry. I'm angry that people who do more than me, who hold part-time jobs, who have less severe mental illness, are receiving Social Security disability income, and it took them 4 months to get it. Well, it's been almost 3 years for me, and I'm still stuck waiting 2 more years with no hope in sight. I'm angry that my whole life people have condescended to me and treated me like a liar and treated me like I don't deserve respect or bodily or mental autonomy, like I don't have a working brain. People who just watch my videos or interview me, or read my files, can't know what it's like to live my life. But unfortunately, we live in a crappy world that doesn't seem to get it. You can't tell if someone is mentally ill or suicidal by just looking at them or listening to them or watching a video by them, even for 20, 30, 50 minutes, especially if that person has edited it themselves. I feel this should be self-evident to anyone who thinks about it, but people really don't, and make bad snap judgments. Malcolm Gladwell certainly knows this. Blink. What we see in front of the curtain is not at all what goes on behind the scenes. The bullying grand guignol grounds of YouTube should not be where I have to prove that I'm disabled. YouTube is not admissible court evidence for disability cases and never should be the place where we prove or disprove these things. I have made some very private videos of my worst days and nervous breakdowns. And I was informed by my disability advocate that they are inadmissible. So therefore, these videos also should not be admissible. Otherwise, it's an unfair double standard. The problem with our system is that the burden of proof is on me to show that I'm disabled, and I can't prove a negative. The Social Security Administration assumes I'm lying and shirking until proven otherwise. And so does the bootstrapping, American dreaming, meritocratic, privileged, middle class, hierarchic, mainstream media, consumerist, capitalist audience out there. The burden is on me to prove that I'm disabled, and if I show any skill or competence in proving I'm disabled, then that skill itself is taken as proof that I'm not. That's the classic definition of the catch-22. I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. And if I get angry and pissed about this situation and rant about it, and piss off the people listening, or contradict myself because I'm having memory episodes as a result of stress and flashbacks and decompensation, then those are taken not as evidence of my mental illness and disability, but either as evidence that I'm lying or reacted to emotionally by judges and psychologists and witnesses who don't like me as a result and pillory me for not being likable and just vindictively say, no, you can work. They just shoot me down out of spite because they don't like me, because I'm not likable, which is precisely why I can't get and hold a job. I can't get along with people. I'm doing all this myself. I live alone, isolated. And mostly, I'm just damn tired. And it's February. And I'm ranting and going off the rails like I do every February at anyone who dares provoke me. I'm desperate and hopeless and angry. Not a good position for a mentally ill, disabled person to be in. And because I'm desperate and hopeless and don't expect to live much longer, I guess I've stopped caring. Like I said, no one in their right mind would pay me to do these videos. This is not a job. This is catharsis. There's a big gap that I think that a lot of people overlook between being able to work a full-time job and being too disabled to do anything. Like, it's a logical fallacy. It's like, if I can do anything, then I'm able to hold a full-time job. That's not it. I can be too disabled to hold a full-time job and make a living, but still be able to read, still be able to make YouTube videos. That just because my disabilities are invisible, that it's easy for privileged people can dismiss them and say, oh no, you're not disabled because you can make these arguments and things like that. I really honestly think that most disabled people fall into the gap in between. But we hold disabled people to these unreasonable standards of you have to be in a wheelchair, you have to be unable to like do anything at all. It's ridiculous. I hate that. I hate it. I hate that I'm being put on the defensive for all of this, and that I have to keep making these arguments, and that at the same time it's making me crazy, because I feel like whenever I make these arguments, that these arguments are going to be turned back on me, that the fact that I make these arguments are, well, because you can make these arguments, you're not disabled. I don't even understand. It's not fair. It's not fair. There's a big gap between being able to hold a 40-hour-a-week job, 52 weeks a year, and being so disabled that you can't feed yourself. And that's where most disabled people are. That's where I am. I can't work But that doesn't mean I can't take care of myself. It doesn't mean I can't use my brain. It doesn't mean I can't make YouTube videos. It doesn't mean I can't read. It doesn't mean I can't talk. It doesn't mean I can't think. It doesn't mean I don't deserve respect. It doesn't mean I don't have anything worth saying. It doesn't mean I don't have anything worth listening to. I'm disabled. I'm still a person. I still have a mind. I'm mentally ill. I still have a mind. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching.